They haven't reached some. I've tried it several times, it's not easy. I'll show you. I know it is. All right. Okay, and I've done a little laundry, fed my dog, put the bed away. And so 10 minutes, shower, hair, makeup, clothes, take the bed, go. 10 minutes. Well, I always do that. Everyone else is all of it. I remember you saying, I'm like, I can't. I'm like, oh, I don't like it. Mine's not perfect gold, but I just need. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. That was the best thing to do. All your clothes in there.
Hey, Chuck, how you doing? Well, you're going young.
I mean, no. Yeah, no.
Good. How's it going?
Okay, pretty good.
Good. Nice to see you guys. How you doing?
How's everybody tonight?
Another day.
Living the dream. No signs or?
Jim? Well, Mike.
How are you back?
Not bad, how about yourself?
Good until they turn the heat on.
I'm trying to get it to the right temperature. I'm sorry, Mike. I thought it was too cold, and then I screwed it all. I'm sorry.
I suffer.
I know. Well, we did. I put it on auto. Just kind of.
We need to make them sweat once in a while.
Oh, you're too.
Sure.
Always looking for the dance.
Barring a miracle. Barring a miracle. It'll get cold.
Yeah. Just wait for about 5 minutes.
They keep saying that when they're walking in.
Sounds like too much. What's that? You were in the trail meeting? Oh, well, how'd that turn? How's that gonna affect you when you go back to where you were? Oh, it does. Let me ask you a question. Kind of like sidewalks. Let's get most of the primary election May 31st. Not really. I mean, 30 days before the primary, things start with signs, handouts. Yeah.
I saw it.
I'm sorry. School board, 2 commissioner positions. You're in Caln board right now. Yeah. Well, there's probably going to be an announcement about that. I went, Mike, myself, and the rain. we all met those, voter services. So Caln 4 will, I'm about 99% sure is going to be at the Philibert, they're not Philibert, where the St. Joe's
Nice to see you guys. Well done, sir.
See, I think of Philibert, it's saying more than Philibert. It's going to be next to the main building, and it is plenty of room. It's going to be split. I know, and it kind of, I guess, interrupted a lot of people it's just too much motion. Yes. But just so anyway, I think it's going to be a lot more convenient. It's better than the damn school. School didn't want us. They basically kicked us out of there. But anyway, make a little better. It just has to be approved by the judges, services office. And he says there's some judges. Hey, Mark. Since there's people running for re-election. Hey, Courtney. How you doing? I'm in a meeting. What? Where? Not 202. 35 minutes. Yeah. I don't know. I saw the state police to up there. It's up by 340. Oh, King Richard. Yeah, and I'll call you if I find out anyway. All right, so granddaughter. Accident.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the citizens to be heard, are any of these on agenda items? I have Cheryl Spalding, Mark Young, and Joe Wright. No?
I do have a question later, but I want to hear what the, I'm Mark Young, want to hear we're on road. Just want to know about what's going on with Iron Mountain, and then speak about that.
I'm sorry, what?
About Iron Mountain,
Oh, okay.
until I know what you're saying, I don't have to comment.
Okay, so Ms. Denne will update on that item and the report and I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wright, do you have any comments on agenda items or are you?
No, not on anything here, I don't believe.
Okay. For some reason, this spreadsheet doesn't give them an opportunity to list what their topic is, so we'll have to fix that. Okay. We'll start with Township Solicitor Ms. Camp.
Thank you. I have quite a few things tonight, so I'll try to get through this quickly. The first is Hills of Thorndale Woods, a project that honestly has been going on, I think, since 2001. It's a residential subdivision, a cluster subdivision that received conditional use approval received preliminary plan approval, and then they discovered there was a environmental issue with the property. So they spent a lot of years trying to remediate and get a remediation plan in place. Southtown Properties is no longer actively developing residential properties, so from what I understand, they're trying to market the property. They do have final plans in for review, and they sent a letter back in March asking for, basically granting you an extension of time until the end of the year to act on the final plans. Staff has discussed this and thought it was better to not extend it for such a great length of time, and suggested the board accept the extension request, but tie it into when their sewer agreement expires, which I think is the end of June, beginning of July. So my recommendation would be the board accept the extension request, but limit it to the end of July. And that will then tie it into when municipal authority will have to enter the agreement. And this is for, just so everybody in the audience understands, when an applicant files a land development application, the state law requires that the board take action on that plan, either granting or denying it within a certain period of time. It's 90 days. The 90 days doesn't start until the first planning commission meeting after the plan is filed. So it's the applicant that has to offer an extension. The board, if they don't want to accept the extension, they have to act on the plan. So again, this is a project that's been in the works for quite some time, and I would suggest the board accept the extension, but limit it until July 31st.
I will entertain a motion to accept the extension for the Hills at Thornhill Woods, but not to exceed July 31st, 2019. Motion made by Commissioner Chambers, seconded by Commissioner Tindaro. Any comments or questions from the board?
So what is the reason that they need?
Well, I don't know if they've responded to your last letter. but
They have not responded to the last letter that we issued. They're probably working to get that letter.
I think part of it was that the sewer agreement required them to pay substantial sums of money to contribute to the competition. And I think that the policy of the municipal authority has changed now. Municipal authority is taking that project on, so there's going to be different agreements to negotiate with the property owner, or actually going to help the property owner, I think. They're still going to have to pay a significant sum of money for patent fees, but they're not going to have to bear that cost of building competition. So that's part of it, and then the other part of it was just trying to market property for the state. No, they still exist. They're not actively finishing out projects that they started, but they're not taking on new developments from ground one to
So essentially they want to finish the plan and sell it off.
get it vested and sell it as an approved project. So. And we think, because it's been in the pipeline for so long, that they basically should take it to the finish line in terms of getting, assuming they can meet the code, get it approved, and then it has a life based on the state law for as long as 5 years from the Well, it was extended because of the Permanent Extension Act.
Correct. Which ends with that and with the.
Well, the Permanent Extension Act vested, it's not that the plan expired on July 2nd,
Right.
2019, they did, you add on the life of the approval from that date. So I don't have that date in front of me, as to when that was done.
So they have 2 years left. Permanent extension that took them till 8 years and they got 2 years.
2 years from that point.
Correct.
Any other comments or questions? Any comments or questions from the board? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 5-0.
So I did have a conversation with Tim Towns, who's the agent of Southtown Homes, about this, and he was comfortable with that, and I will communicate that to him. And obviously then Brian's office will be with the.
Can you also reconstruct this plan right now so long that further extensions probably not.
Oh, that's exactly what we communicated, absolutely. Yep, we did.
That, I mean, I think when this plan started, I was still
I wouldn't doubt that.
But yeah, it's just right on.
Yeah, it definitely was one of the first cases that I started working on for Caln in 1999. So I definitely recall that. It's been quite a show. Anyway, second thing is, and Brian can jump in if he knows more about it, I was given a copy of a stormwater best management practices agreement. This is your standard stormwater operation agreement when somebody does improvements to the property and it requires stormwater management facilities to be installed. The stormwater ordinance requires that a permanent document be recorded against title to the property, so that the property owner and anybody else that buys that property understands they have to, it's their obligation to maintain the stormwater facilities. So I have this for Thomas and Maria Milliken. Do you know, Brian, what the property code is for this?
1500 Kings Highway, they did a building permit plan, but it was,
This wasn't when it was a land development, this was.
no, this is a building permit plan, they had to get a PennDOT permit, so it sat for probably 6 months while they got permit approval. This is what they're doing to this is they are adding a driveway and a garage to this. The driveway is on the west end of the property, the new driveway comes in the east end of the property, coming down to a new garage.
So across the house, so 10,000,
Square feet.
Yes, yes, their proposed impervious surface, is almost 2. Can you set that up? They added just over 1,100 square feet to the top.
So they're close.
Yeah.
Denise, do you have the original agreement? You sent me a draft, you sent me a signed copy. I wasn't very happy.
Might be in there.
Okay. Anyway, I only have one that scans me, and I need to just make sure that the plan is attached to the report. You do. Does it have a plan attached as the exhibit? Okay, good. Okay, so the motion would be to authorize the president to enter the stormwater agreement with Thomas and Maria.
I'll entertain a motion to authorize the president to enter into a stormwater agreement with Caln. Motion made by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Chambers. Any further comments or questions on this one? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 5-0.
Next is something I've been working on with your manager, work director, Ray Stackhouse, as well as Brian. The company, Pennsylvania American Water, which is the public water company, they have requested the township to grant an easement, both temporary and permanent, so they can install a water main replacement on Meadow Drive, near the intersection of Meadow and Park. So we also had your sewer department review the location of the easement to make sure it did not interfere with any sewage facilities or sewer lines. We worked on the language. We didn't love the language that the water company provided in the easement, so we revised it. I'm satisfied with the legal terms of the document. So it grants both a temporary and a permanent easement. In speaking with the manager, the policy has been that we've not requested to be compensated for the use of the township lands, but we have asked that the water company completely pave Meadow Drive curb to curb, and then also the intersection of Meadow and Parcel literally. It's an 8-inch water main that we've gone through. So if we're comfortable with this, the motion would be to allow the president to sign the deed of temporary and permanent easement for water lines with Pennsylvania American Water.
I'll entertain a motion to authorize the president to sign the deed of temporary and permanent easement for PA American Water. We have a second? Okay, seconded by Commissioner Vincenzo and motion by Commissioner Chambers. Any comments or questions?
So explain that, I'm sorry, that was.
It's
so
a-
Without, we're not taking any, monetary.
Right, and if you were, the process is that the water company would have to have an appraisal performed to determine the value of the easement. I'm doing a project right now in East Goshen Township for the value of these types of easements. It's really not considerable because it's subsurface, it doesn't impact the value of the property above ground. It doesn't prevent you from using the property above ground in any great extent. So the value of what the easement would be worth, in a lot of cases, is less than what the appraisal would cost. And so in negotiation with a water company, we said, hey, we better, if we pave our road versus giving us consideration for the value of the property.
So, okay, you're gonna pay just Meadow or Meadow and
Meadow and Park, anywhere that's a model.
Okay.
And normally they would just pave over the trench.
Right.
Here they're gonna pave curb to curb.
Right, and that's what we're standard practice is. But are we going to, can we work with them to finish off those roads? go all the way to where we pay back whatever portion of that is?
We can ask. And we can ask.
Because the last thing was half of the park paid half of that, and then, you've got.
Now they're paying all of them.
Yeah, I think it's
They're
all.
paving all of them.
Yeah, I think it's all.
But park are the, paving all the park.
It's only like, it's a
Only
very
the
small
intersection.
portion, yeah. It's
But
very-
the water line they're installing goes from their line here across and through to connect metal, so they're connecting those two pieces through our property.
Wasn't that raised at one of the meetings, somebody was concerned about the water pressure, and I think this is going to help that.
Essentially, yeah, this is loop and this is connecting Peter Carlson to metal. But they've agreed to pave the intersection of park and metal and all of metal.
We asked them about parking.
But the area that they're doing it, it's literally, I think they said it's only like 3 feet.
Yeah, they're just coming to park 3 feet to,
I think what Josh is saying is, will they agree when they're already out there and they have a crew out there,
Just
and
mill and
they
pave.
mill and pave it, and then you would pay them actually for whatever
I
they're
mean, we
going
can ask,
at a
but I
cost.
think it's gonna be more than, and we're probably not gonna talk about the, I'd rather see what our bids come in at before we put their.
Okay.
So,
I just get, they're there, why not pay the rest of them?
and I don't disagree, but if it comes in as rates and fines.
Okay.
Because they don't do it,
Right, they're probably,
correct? And anything that rates and fines, they don't do it. And
even
so-
if they're doing it?
Yes. I mean, what I.
Well, the only way it would be is if they had appraised the value of the easements, and they were doing it for, like, you know, like-kind services for the value of property interests, but I don't think our property interest would be bigger than that.
Yeah, and well, especially if we're paying them, if we're getting that, anything that rates and fines would start the consideration that it would be.
Don't be aware of that. But we'll figure it out.
You just have to be very, I would definitely want the solicitor to. It's
Yeah,
gonna be more than $18,000 to pay for it.
okay. They're just not, those roads are.
Yes.
So, if we get them all paid.
I mean, the only other thing I know you've done in the past is you've waived permit fees, road opening permit fees, I know these people have been on that. Not required, because you can
Well, that's-
require a public utility to pay
Right,
those
well, that was
permits.
part of it, we talked about that in the beginning, that was part of it.
Is that if they know that there's gonna be future permit projects in town that they're gonna have to pay those fees for, maybe that's one thing we credit against those fees, maybe, we can talk about it.
All right, let us look into it, I just don't wanna get into it.
If not, then maybe we, at the same time, try to get.
The other thing we can do, we're going to bid in, so we can do this a bit also. We can do up to what 10% of the total. So we can add that, because I think it's a really small portion. It's almost just doing the width.
Yeah, you're doing the intersection, full intersection, and then the width, the full width of metal all around.
But again, we just be like, we
I'm not disagreeing, but again, I just don't wanna get us into a bidding issue.
I mean, you could always ask them to do it gratuitously, then for the county.
We can ask.
You should ask.
Again, let us research before we make any type of decision.
Well, and find out too, do they wanna, while they're there, if somebody's lateral? Cause then we could say, okay, we're gonna waive the fees and do private parking.
Let's just, let us investigate. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 5-0.
Okay, the next thing is, because of a project we've been working on for a while, it's Taco Bell. This came to you as a conditional use request, specifically for the drive-through. So the board rendered a decision in September of 2018 to grant conditional use approval for the drive-through. They also had to go to the zoning hearing board and use certain variances, and that happened in actually January of 2018. They then went back in January of 2019 to extend the variance approval. You granted preliminary land development approval in January of this year, and they continue to coordinate with the outside agencies, specifically PennDOT. This is a proposed motion to grant final land development approval The conditions are very similar to what you saw in the preliminary plan. Obviously comply with all the relevant ordinances, any of the township consultant review letters, it's just Cedarville Engineers last review letter. They did enter a sanitary sewer capacity reservation agreement with the CTMA, so that's already been in place, obviously it comply with that. There is also an operation and maintenance agreement with the CTMA because of the grinder pump group on the property. They did require another waiver, and this was something that your traffic consultant weighed in on. The waiver was with respect to what traffic growth rate they use when they do their traffic impact study. And your consultant had no problem with the waiver that they're requesting, section 137-67H. And I believe, and Brian can jump in here, but the rate that they used was actually more conservative than the rate that was required.
PennDOT growth rate is actually a lower rate because what PennDOT is required for the intersection of the township is 40 throw. I discussed this with the township traffic engineer, and the lower rate actually causes the lower growth rate by background growth rate by PennDOT causes the project to have a higher impact to the intersection. So that higher growth rate that's in the ordinance causes the development of a lesser impact to the development.
So it's actually beneficial for the board to bring that over.
Yes.
The other conditions are very boilerplate, entering the development agreements, posting financial security, paying the fee in lieu of open space fee, obtaining any other outside agency permits, including the occupancy permit. Something that the planning commission had recommended, and I've incorporated into condition 13, is that they have to install additional sidewalks within the site quadrant of Manor Avenue and Rock Raymond Road to create a reasonable path for pedestrians traveling around the corner. And your traffic engineer provided a sketch of that, and I've attached that as an exhibit to this. And applicant agrees that the motion. The other one is just making sure that your Department of Building and Life Safety has reviewed the ADA accessible features. You have to enter a stormwater management agreement like Milliken's just did. There is also going to be storm facilities located within the PennDOT right-of-way, and PennDOT has taken the position that the township has to be co-permittee on those applications. So what the township has done is require the applicant to enter a operations and maintenance agreement that puts the onus of maintaining storm facilities in PennDOT rights-of-way on the property owner. So we have forms that we've done for the Wawas and other developers, and they will execute that and record that with the plan. There's nothing about signage that's being granted in this approval. We'll have to apply the township sign ordinance for that. And that's pretty much it. Happy to answer any questions on the proposed motion. Applicant's counsel is here, applicant is here. Again, happy to answer questions.
Does anybody have any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the Taco Bell final land development. Motion made by Commissioner Cordero, seconded by Commissioner Chambers. Any other comments or questions? Easy ones made, I guess. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 5-0.
Thank you. The other one is a cleanup. Well, as you see, when we do final land development approvals, often there's conditions in future agreements that have to come back before the board. The board previously approved for Storage First. Storage First Ventures LLC. They are developing a self-storage facility on Hazelwood Avenue. The conditions of approval required them to offer you a deed of dedication for additional right-of-way along Washington Road and Hazelwood Avenue. So we have a deed of dedication of that additional right-of-way. And there's also an existing storm sewer pipe that crosses the applicant's property. And one of the conditions of approval requires them to replace that pipe to the extent that it needs to be replaced, and then offer an easement for that pipe. So I have a dedication of easement for the storm sewer pipe that crosses over the property. So both of these, I mean, I'd be comfortable with you, the motion consolidating them both, to authorize the president to accept the deed of dedication of the additional road right-of-way and enter the dedication of easement to the storm sewer.
I'll entertain a motion to authorize the president to accept the deed of dedication for the additional right-of-way and grant a stormwater easement for the Storage First property. Commissioner Vincenzo, seconded by Commissioner Chambers. Any comments or questions on this one? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 5-0.
And Denise, you have the originals of those documents, correct? The drop off. I believe, I don't know if he did or not, but the applicant, I think, is trying to get a plan released, so he has to submit the developer agreements, and I've given him the forms. Did he drop those off, do you know? Okay, we'll have to coordinate that with him. Maybe more time. We'll have to wait till you make the plan. Anyway, okay. You could sign them, but don't release them until we get the development agreements and finish your hands. The next thing is Hillview. So Hillview is one of the more active applications. We have a letter from Mr. Pellegreco. This was also something that a while back, I don't remember the date, they had conditional use approval. The applicant came back and received revised conditional use approval, modified conditional use approval. They modified the plan. This modified conditional use approval was based on a prior version of your zoning ordinance. The prior version of your zoning ordinance said that a conditional use approval is only valid for 6 months. You had granted an extension until, I believe, April 15th, and the applicant is currently working on a land development plans. They are pretty active working on a land development plans and expect to have something for you to act on by July. So what I asked, I said, why not just have the conditional use plan extension period run concurrently? So they've asked that the conditional use approval be extended, and you've accepted an offer to extend the time frame for you to review the final plans until July 31st.
So entertain motion to approve Hillview's request for extension to July 31st. Second?
That's for 2019.
Yes. Okay, motion made by Commissioner Chambers, seconded by Commissioner Quintero. Any comments or questions on this one? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 5-0.
That's why I will let Allison know, but you can also tell her, Gina, that both the conditional use and the plans, she actually asked for June for the land development and October for the conditional use, and I said, let's split the difference and go to July, so I think that's a better timeframe. So I have something that came in at the last minute, and it's not on the agenda, but it's in the same vein of these extensions. And the reason this was not on your agenda was I was under the impression that this was granted, the extension was granted to the end of April. And when I went back through my records, I realized that the extension for the Caln was only up until today, April 12th, April 15th. So we would need for you to accept an extension. Now this is a little bit different. So this is not your typical land development. This is a PRD, land residential development. So they have, the applicant as well at Town has a tentative plan approval for a planned residential development. They filed, and when they have that tentative plan approval, the decision speaks to when they must file their final plan, their final PRD plan. They met that requirement. The MPC says that once you receive that final plan, if you agree that it's consistent with the tentative plan, you must act on that within 45 days. The applicant wasn't pushing to get it done in 45 days, and they recognized that 45 days is not long enough to review such a large plan, and so they granted the extension until April 15th. Speaking with applicant's counsel, Mr. Pellegreco, he has asked that, basically, we asked him again, similar to Hills of Thorndale Woods, what is your intention? This has been on the books for a while, what are you planning on doing? He wrote a letter to me on April 10th, and basically said that he had been advised that his client intends to file an amended final PRD plan addressing the last set of engineering review comments. They expect the filing to occur tomorrow, April 12th, and normally we would have 45 days from that date to make a decision. He recognizes that's too short of a time frame, so he is giving the board until October 31st, 2019, which is 6 months. I think that's realistic for when staff and consultants can put together reviews and bring it back to you for approval. And this is another one where I think it's very different than a land development plan, because once you approve a tentative PRD plan, the zoning and the land development regulations applicable to that tract of ground is whatever the tentative plan decision state is. So it almost like it doesn't, I don't wanna say it trumps your zoning ordinance as far as the map and everything, but it dictates what can happen on that parcel of ground. So, again, the holdup that I understand, and Ms. Gerber may know more and can talk about it, is that the developer who brought it forward is not a developer of townhomes, they're a developer of apartment buildings. And they have put their energy into developing in other locations, they've not found anybody to partner with them, and a huge financial burden was to honor the sewer agreement that they have to do. They were also going to be a partner in the construction of the pump station. Now that the municipal authority is undertaking that on their own, it actually makes this project more marketable. Have no idea whether or not it will be marketed or not, but they're gonna be in the same position where they're probably going to invest the plan, that's the final PRD plan, and then determine whether or not somebody wants to build it. If not, it will die just as any other plan would die after some time. October 31st.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the extension of the town, through October 31st, 2019. Motion made by Commissioner Shandero, seconded by Commissioner Taber. Any comments or questions?
Question. Who is the developer, where is the property?
Property is as you're going up 322 on the left-hand side. It's the last parcel before you get to East Brandywine Township.
And who is the developer?
It's the Caln company.
You know, I don't know enough about the whole situation, but my reaction to it basically is, more than once in these meetings, all of a sudden these things appear at the night that they must be approved without it all being given to you well enough in advance that you can make an intelligent decision. And while this may be okay, I don't know enough about it to judge it, I really object to the stuff that comes in here with you, Ms. Camp, saying, well, this is okay, because, you know, I didn't give it to you before because right at the last minute this was.
Just thought I got it yesterday. And
I
if they
understand
don't
that.
approve it, then there's a deemed approval of the final plan. So the consequence of me not bringing it to them this evening would be that the developer gets to do what they want with the deemed approval.
I'm
So
not-
that's why I'm bringing it to
You're
you. I can
misinterpreting.
only respond to things that get to me in a timely fashion.
You're misinterpreting my statement.
I must be.
You are. My point is, it really seems to be more effort needed to get to whoever these developers are well in advance of whatever's coming up, so that you have a proper opportunity to investigate what's going on. It's just only comment in general, but it's happened a number of times, not just tonight, and I'm not judging this situation. I don't know enough about it, but I do think you have a right to ask for more time. And while this may not be the right number to say that in this particular case, I think it's something along with you as a board saying, hey, don't give me these things at the last minute, shove it in front of me and expect me to sign it. I think that's very unfair.
There really isn't a lot of options. We either have a motion for you to deny it based on the last comment from the engineering review, or we do nothing and it's deemed approved. So it's really an administrative process, because under the MPC, there's so many different timeframes that you have to be aware of. And Brian does the best. In fact, we had a meeting with the planning commission to talk to them about all the timeframes and the ramifications of not granting extensions. There's also a requirement in the law, based on the statute, or not the statute, but based on case law, that there has to be good faith in going back and forth with the developer. You can't just say, sorry, we're done, we don't want to do it anymore, we're denying it. You have to do the give and take. And part of that is recognizing that, you know, there's a lot of responses that have to come from the engineering review letters for developers to have to respond to. I try my darndest not to get into things to what just happened tonight. I want you to have them in advance, and you can ask questions of your staff, you can ask questions of me. I had reached out to the applicant council because staff as a whole has looked at the calendar to say, look, some of these have been on the books for quite some time. It's not fair to have them just continue to say, give me 90 days, give me 90 days, give me 90 days. We really wanted to say, put up or shut up. I mean, that's sort of the way I'm gonna say it, is that, you know, you have rights, you have vested rights under the ordinances, but either you're gonna develop it or you're not. So this was both for Hills of Thorndale Woods and the Dwell of Town to say, get your ducks in a row, spend the money if you're gonna spend the money, get it done, and then if you're gonna build it, if you're not, move on. That's really what these are about. And it was because of a concerted effort that staff had to say, let's take a look at the calendar of what's in the pipeline, and let's bring these back to the board so they can take action on it as well.
My thoughts go along with Cheryl. We don't know enough. You don't know enough, and this can't just introduce it. You had the right to deny this. Have you ever seen the traffic coming down 322 towards the 30 bypass from that direction? So whatever type, if you ever gone west on 322 in the morning, those poor people are sitting in traffic forever. So until you have the ability to understand how many units were built, how many cars, how many people, it would seem to me that this coming in at the last minute, I would deny the application.
So if we do that, we're gonna go to court, and we probably will do that.
The tentative plan discussed all that. So the tentative plan has them doing significant
But none of us
traffic.
know that. We're sitting here in this room, and this
Well,
is the
sir, the
first.
tentative plan approval can be something that it's public record. So the fact that you weren't, those were all public hearings, there were very lengthy public hearings, there was many, many nights of testimony. So all of that, and in fact, the planning commission, who are, a lot of them are new, they're also not familiar with it because it was years ago.
Right.
That will all come forward again, but understand that once tentative plan approval is granted, just like once preliminary plan approval is granted, the applicant has a vested right for approval consistent with those decisions. So,
And again,
So-
the decision that's being made here tonight is for extension. That's all this is for. Just the same as anybody else, you have someone sitting who needs more time. All the board acted on is an extension. Part of the board's meeting is they have to conduct the business and administration of the township. Giving extensions on applications is a part of that process. So there's no decision that had to be made. It's simply granting the applicant an extension.
Then if this applicant was so aware of what's going on, why are they waiting to the 11th hour if there's not something possibly?
Sir, I'm not the applicant. The only thing I can say, the board
I'm
was
saying, I'm asking the whole board and Ms. Camp. If this comes to you at the 11th hour,
they have a lot of other.
I have a wonder whether there's some ulterior motive
No,
to waiting to the 11th hour to do it, because it puts some pressure on
Other
the
than
board
the
to have to
workload
do
of the
something.
applicant, so.
And with all due respect, I don't want to hear about workloads. Everybody in this room has workloads, including this board. And, it seems to me that this board seems to get way too many, and it's not about this particular decision. I don't know enough about it to comment about that particular thing. All I'm saying is that the board seems to get put in front of it a number of things frequently that are last minute, please sign this now, and a minimal explanation. And I think that's a problem. So I don't know what the problem is,
But
except
also,
that you need,
as a board, they have the right to say we're not gonna act on this. If the board feels that way, they have an
we're
absolute
not talking
right.
about this, we're talking about in general.
And in general, they have the right to say we're not gonna act on this.
But they also need
I
to be
think they
consistent.
understand more what I'm talking about than you do, but that's fine.
Mr. Spalding, did you have a question?
Just trying to take this from a decision standpoint. If I understand it right, we have several options. One, we can let it clock itself out, and that could lead to a lawsuit
Well, if you
because,
lock it out, there's a deemed approval. So if you do nothing, there will be a deemed approval
okay,
of the
so
final plan.
if it clocks
And
out, they get
that's not
approval.
something we want to see happen.
If we extend it, we're extending it so that we have time enough to give them approval? Or
Well,
could we
no,
have
have time
potentially
enough for
just,
No, we have time enough for the consultants to review and guide the board as to what would be appropriate conditions, or to guide the board to say that they haven't met the code and therefore should be denied. We
Okay.
don't have a decision ready this evening, one way or the other, like how I had a very lengthy decision for Taco Bell, because it hasn't been vetted back to the planning commission, because the applicant hasn't responded to the last review. And as I said,
I understand
said,
we're
you
in a
could
time
be-
box. I'm not arguing with you at
Okay.
all. I'm really not. I'm simply asking to understand what the options are. We can extend it, we could turn it down.
well, the problem about saying we could turn it down is I don't have a decision. If you turn it down, you have to cite the code sections. that they
Okay, so we don't have that option then.
Well, we do. I would just go back and say it would have to be based on Brian's last review letter, which I don't have in front of me.
But I could, if someone's trying to make a deal with me, I do business a lot with people who come and say, here's the contract. If I don't sign that contract within the 30 days that it has to be signed, that contract is automatically null and void. We have a different circumstance here. If we don't sign it, that contract goes into force, if I'm understanding it.
They get a deemed approval of their final PRD plans, yes.
Okay. If we just extend it, we can turn it down later,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
or we can accept it later.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And for history, I don't know, I think Josh, just you and I, Lorraine, you might have been on the board then too. But we had, when I was on the, we must have had 10 hours of presentations from this development and a bunch of conditions that we threw at them. So it's nothing automatic. So if they come in and we extend this, they have a lot of things that they need to meet before this gets approved. If they turn it down tonight, it's automatically approved. So now, if we wait, we can apply all of those conditions to that. So, depending on where they need them.
I'm really not speaking to any of that issue. My point is simply, very simply, that an observation that more than once in the past few months that I've been sitting in this audience, things come to this board either from Ms. Camp or from Township Manager Denne, in which the following statement said, I know you didn't see it before tonight, but, and I just think that's not a really good way to run the township. That's all. I'm not speaking to this particular issue, but for forward motion, I think the board has a right to say to both Ms. Camp and to Ms. Denne, make sure we get things early.
Well, and there are times that we get things after. So if we did do that, we would have to ask the commissioners then to have additional special meetings, because if we had a hard date on Friday when we send out the packets at 4 o'clock, something comes in Monday or Tuesday, I would be asking the board to schedule another meeting for the following week.
No, because what you can do, which is done in other townships, and becomes known by developers very well, is that if they don't get in within the time frame, they go to the next month meeting.
And I've worked in various places, and I can tell you
I'm not
exceptions
sure
are no.
I made my point. That's all.
And it, again,
I just
at
don't
any
understand
time,
one
if the
thing.
board is, excuse me, can I please finish? At any time the board is uncomfortable, they don't have to act on anything. So if the board has any discomfort, please let us know.
Oh, this is still a, when you go to court, it's still an open court, and somebody can sue and somebody can win. I don't understand why if we go to court, we automatically lose. That seems to be a defeatist attitude that, I know there's companies out there like Wawa and things like that can bankrupt townships by going through this thing. But why are we automatically going to lose if we deny it?
Because we didn't give them any chance to respond to our letter.
Because they didn't give you any chance by giving to 1 day ahead of time. That's,
Yeah,
I was
what we're
sitting
doing
there
is-
as a judge, and those are two things got away, right?
Yeah. but
They give it to you
at the
1 day
same
ahead of time, and you're denying it
At the same
without
time,
giving notice.
What Mr. Kramer said. if we
Okay, but I'm
deny
not
this-
getting a chance to finish here, and Miss Denne just asked me to let her
Okay,
finish,
sorry.
so. Going to a court of law, and them suing us over this, I don't see how we automatically lose or win. So, maybe that's a,
So I'll give you an example of how this township messed up years ago. The Ingleside Golf Course development, they decided that they were going to fight that, and they were going to go to court, and they lost. And the court designed what that development looked like. It was not anything that the township wanted. It was designed around what the builder wanted. The judge basically designed that development on its own, when the court did it. And when they did that, all the conditions and all of the things that we thought would make it a better community, they didn't get put in there. Because we decided that this was long before any of us, the township decided we were gonna fight it. And they did, and they lost. And it had ramifications for quite a long time. And actually, some of the roadway issues we're having on Geo Carlson is because we didn't get any of those conditions. We didn't have any say in how the roadway was designed or any of that type of information. The court deemed that approved what the developer had presented, because the township erred in thinking that they were going to muscle their way through this and win.
okay, I grant you that. But lose once, you give up forever?
I'm not saying that. This is, if we deny this tonight, I do not believe that we can prevail in court. If we deny it, 10/31/19 with answers to the letter that we just sent out, then I think we would have some type of case. But arbitrarily saying tonight was the deadline and not giving the developer a chance to respond to our letter, that's my
But
point.
isn't it the deadline? I thought it was, the legal deadline was tomorrow.
They granted an extension until April 15th,
Okay, so April 15th
right,
is our deadline.
which is Monday,
Right.
right, and there's not another board meeting
So,
between now and Monday.
if we turn them down, we're within the deadline because they
But
did
we
not
don't have
perform.
a motion prepared, so if you're going to deny a plan, in this case a tentative plan that has vested rights, the tentative PRD plan has vested rights to proceed, and it's not an easy section of the MPC to understand, there's not a lot of PRDs in the area, quite honestly.
Okay, so it's
And I'm aware of
not
this
their
fire
fault.
station and I've used them. It's not anyone's fault, sir, it's the process that, it's a
I'm
give
just
and
saying
take
from a
back and
legal
forth.
standpoint, the court would see that this was not anything they did wrong.
Right.
They did everything wrong. It would be us doing
No,
something
no, I
wrong.
think what it is that for us to be in a very good position, assuming the board wanted to deny, and I have no idea if they do or not. Okay, everyone's presupposing that they would want to deny this. I'm not sure if that's the case.
No, we're asking the question.
No,
Well, but you're saying you should deny it and fight them in court.
nobody said they should deny it.
We're in no position to judge, I don't think, at least on this side of the thing.
My point
We're
is
simply
that-
looking for some
My point
clarity.
is that to deny it, I want them to have a written motion in their hand that cites every section of the code that they're not compliant with, so that if they appeal and when they appeal on denial, because they spent oodles and oodles of money, so therefore they're gonna try to protect their property interest in the approvals by filing an appeal in court, I wanna make sure the court understands the basis for denial. And I want every section cited, and I want the engineering behind it as to why it's being denied. They don't have that before them tonight, because I was not instructed to go in that direction. We were instructed to
By who?
figure out what the appropriate time frame is for them to bring plans back that respond to the last review letters. So that's what now we're going to be doing. And if and when they, as you heard Mr. Young say, they're not in a position to want to continue to keep granting extensions of these plans that have been in the books for a while, so they're gonna have to spend the money now, get it in a position that either can be acted upon and approved, or acted upon and denied, but basically that's gonna have to happen between now and October.
Just brings me back to the original thing. They didn't give you enough time to prepare that for the board. So why does the onus lay on us instead of on the applicant? They didn't give you a chance to prepare for the documentation you're saying, to prepare for the board, to have in time.
I believe the applicant was under the impression that the way that they had been granted the extensions in the past was going to continue. So the board is somewhat taking a new policy to not just continue to accept extensions. And that's what's a little bit different. And Ms. Gerber can speak to the applicant's perspective that a lot of times they just say, well, I'll grant you another 90 days, I'll grant you another 90 days, I'll grant you another 90 days. You know, staff has basically said, look, that's becoming administratively difficult for us to keep track of all of that, because there are implications if we don't act on a certain time frame, and therefore we want to make this be, at least for these two developments that are probably the ones on the books for the longest, that there's going to be a line in the sand. You're either going to take the plan through and have the board approve it, or that's the end of the extensions. In which case, we'll now be prepared to come to the board with the motion to deny with the appropriate reasons.
So how many units are going to be in this PRD?
I don't know off the top of my head. It's a mixture of apartments and townhomes. But the decision, the tentative plan approval
Do
decision
you know
is
how many
available.
acres it is?
Excuse me?
Do you know how many acres?
I don't have the decision in front of me, so I do not. It's
That's-
quite a large parcel of property.
Which is going to create a huge parcel of property cars coming down 322 to Route 30 in the morning. I see those people when I go west on Route 322 once in a while.
Those are issues that will come up in the land development process. Right now, we're just working on an extension to give our staff and our planning commission opportunity to review the plans. That's all.
Can I just make one statement going back to my original thrust? Can you simply say as a board, and this is not, on this particular property, step away from that for a minute. Can you simply say as a board to all the powers that be and then bring you these things, please make a special effort not to show up here on the night of a meeting with something you want us to make a decision on. So that means you have to prepare it beforehand, whatever has to be prepared, for the answer that's not the same.
I would
Well,
agree with
There's an
everything.
assumption.
So I've been here 14 years, and we've gone through multiple iterations of different boards. There used to be, and Mr. Kramer can back me up on this, and Mr. Darrow, there used to be half the agenda was things that were brought to us that night. When Mr. Kramer and Mr. Darrow were on the board last, we said no more of that. But, you know, things come up, you know, you find out, oh, there's a date due by, you know, like tonight. I can tell you that before Mr. Kramer and Mr. Darrow and that iteration of the board, that half the agenda would be item 1, 2, and 3, and then when we would get there, there'd be 10 other items that we were on the desk waiting for. You know, things that look like this, sitting on the desk waiting for approval.
That's a definite move in the right direction. All I'm saying is maybe, and I'm not privy to that information, all I'm saying is maybe you can do a little bit more to enforce that. That's all. That's all.
I think what you fail to understand is it's still a business and people
I
act.
completely understand.
So we make every effort to have everything we can in the package on Friday, but we're saying there's 4 working days between them. And if the board wants to go without, that's more than fine. They're trying to do this in the most expedient manner that they can in the petition.
So we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, passes 5-0. Okay, anything else, Ms. Camp?
That's it, I'm gonna give the documents to Denise for signature.
Okay. Mr. Fulton?
The planning commission, as you know, did meet in March, and they did action on the Taco Bell plan, which came forward tonight. They're meeting next Tuesday night, and before them, we'll get an application for the CCIU in the horticulture building. They're proposing to take down the horticulture building that's there now, reconstructed with a more modern and smaller footprint building. It's going to be run development approval process, and we should go right to them. They're coming to the planning commission to discuss. Also tonight, I have for you update for the Lloyd Avenue Bridge traffic signal process. The traffic engineer has been in contact with the county for their count for traffic for the bridge, with the PennDOT for their count for the intersection, and also with the applicant, the township, in his scope information they have for Lloyd Avenue. He did a speed study on Lloyd Avenue and a traffic count on Lloyd Avenue, and he has approached PennDOT. PennDOT is supportive of the idea of putting the signal at the bridge. He's currently working with PennDOT on the permitting requirements. Any traffic signal in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has to be permitted through PennDOT, so he's working through the PennDOT permitting process. And also looking at the 2 cost estimates for the township. One which will be temporary signals for rent, or one will be the permanent signal installation, and comparing those and what will be done. The traffic signal permit with PennDOT will be the same, whether it be a temporary trailer permit or it be for the permanent signal. It's the same amount of work, it's the same permit. It's just it's going to be permanent and temporary. So he is working all that out with PennDOT right now. We'll get more information from the engineer and we'll present that to the township. Yes.
Who makes the decision on whether it's permanent or temporary? Who makes that call?
In the end, it'll be a combination of PennDOT and the board.
It's here though, the decision's made here, not at PennDOT.
Right. There is PennDOT has rules for warrants for a traffic light, for the amount of traffic. And the warrants, right now, the way the traffic is currently, it's not 100% clear that the bridge meets the warrant, but PennDOT is in discussion and supportive of the idea of the light because of the traffic pattern. It doesn't meet the warrants for a standard signal. We may have to go through a special permit process to get the permit. It may be just a standard permit. But the signal unit is aware and they are supportive of it. Yes.
We're just up the road from the bridge, and I've been keeping an informal survey of the cars, and the situation is very episodic. You get 2 hits in the morning, and then it's pretty clear. You get a hit at noontime. You get another one at 3 o'clock when school's let out, and then you get the monster one at 4:30 till 6ish. I'm in a good position. I can count the number of cars easy just by looking out the window to my driveway. Would it be helpful if I kept a running survey for a couple of weeks to feed to the engineer?
Yeah, he did the traffic, has already done the traffic counts. He put the equipment out there and done the counts.
Yeah, but I'm saying if I had a traffic count, let's say an average of 2,000 cars an hour, or whatever the number happens to be, that doesn't tell you what the hit is at the time that backs up in the bridge. When we have 48 cars this evening, for example, backed up, and an 11.5-minute wait from our driveway to get across the bridge. And you'd have to stand there and watch that. The count of the total cars won't tell you that.
Well, I can tell you, the counts were done at AM rush, lunch rush, and PM rush, which are in the hours you just talked about. So that's where
Okay.
the hours.
I was just offering, I've got it right there.
And that requires that information. So
Okay.
Our township traffic engineer is currently working with him.
I wasn't offering anything other than some data.
Mark Evans, 103 Airwood Drive. Thank you. I've been very interested in this light. I understand that you're waiting for decisions for permitting to be done. Do you have any potential time frame for resolution on that? Ballpark, 30 days, 6 months, a year? Guesstimate.
It's PennDOT. So if it has to go to a special permit,
I'm looking for a temporary permit for,
there's no temporary permit. Traffic signal is a traffic signal permit.
right,
Doesn't matter if it's temporary
Got
or
it.
permanent
Got
light,
it.
it's the same
Mhm.
permit. So it's in PennDOT's mind, because it has to go through, PennDOT has to go through, and they will approve the light timing. There's a whole engineered diagram done of the
Right.
timing of the light and everything else. That all has to be vetted and approved by PennDOT, and typically they do through multiple iterations.
and in your experience, what's a worst case scenario and best case scenario? And we won't hold you to
I
anything.
can't, you're gonna hold it to me, I know you
No, personally, I will not, but,
It is a function of PennDOT and what they're doing, and there is also additional coordination needed depending on which way the project goes. And which way the township here would like to spend funds on. Traffic signals between $100 to $150,000.
oh, we talked about this at the last meeting.
So, and depending on the configuration, PennDOT may require two.
Mhm.
So it could be it's expensive proposition. So that's what I'm saying, the township traffic engineer is working to look at the costing of both ways, the temporary trailers for the experiment.
Yep, I got
Or
that.
for the cost to just go permanent. It's the same permit, it's the same timing diagram, it's all the same. But I can't tell you the PennDOT time. It could be months, it could be more than 2 weeks.
And I'm sure that we're continually nudging them, checking in on them, right?
I would say don't expect anything less than 90 days.
Yeah, oh, I know.
That's so
Just as long as we keep nudging them, that's all.
Typically, like around the 6 month mark.
And I have brought this up, I try not to bring up things that personally affect me in here, because, this is about the township, but I live on Arrowwood, and I can't get the hell out of there or into there. And it is life-threatening for me to make a left turn out of there during rush hour, because you can't see around the cars, and more than once, we've come through there thinking we were good, and nearly had her broadside. Could we at least put a don't block the box paint? I don't think you need PennDOT to approve that, and it's just some paint, like you have up by the park and ride there. It's a big don't block the box and a $500 fine for anyone who blocks that box. Most towns do this.
Is that parking lot striping, is that a PennDOT stripe? Is that?
That would have been
You know,
done with the upgrades.
I assure you that a $500 fine for blocking that box being enforced could probably get you half of the cost of the traffic light. So, I mean, it's worth looking into. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask you about the times that the data was taken, the counts. How did they do that? Was that a 24-hour data collection, or was it somebody sitting there
I can't get into the specifics on that traffic engineer, but there is requirements from PennDOT for the traffic study for the time and how the counts are conducted. They can be conducted electronically, they can be conducted in person, where you've seen people sitting aside the road with clipboards, they're counting cars. There's also, if you sit down, you see the black tubes on the road. So there's also new ones that are radar detectors they map to a pole. Right. So I don't know the specifics of the actual count, because that is being handled with the traffic engineer directly with PennDOT. It's not anything that's.
That to me, and I've been actually looking at the radar detection data collectors that sit on the pole. That makes more sense when you do a count, and actually it makes more sense than putting our speed trailer out, because that does speed counts and everything else, and also gives you a graphical position on what times and we're the highest and what would be the lowest.
So the engineer is working on that stuff. That being quite, I can't answer to the specific
Well, just
details.
the reason I brought it up is because you gave those specific hours, and I was just curious.
So I know that there was counts performed at certain times to meet the PennDOT regulations. Typically, there's AM and PM peak, and if there's a third peak, you might be evaluated as well because of timing the light properly.
Okay.
So a study for a traffic light is much different than a speed study or a count for just road intersection. It's a different style of count.
Yep, you mentioned that data collection box that fits on the pole.
There's
It happens to do a lot. And the only thing I'm saying is you can still use it for counts.
I don't know how this count was performed.
Okay.
I don't know I'm saying there's multiple ways of doing the count. I don't know which way this count was performed by the county.
Okay.
But I don't know have that information.
I guess my suggestion would be, in conjunction, let's say, with our speed trailer, that's one thing we should look at rather than use the speed trailer, because we all know that the speed trailer makes people slow down. It doesn't really give you a true vision of what's going on. Those small radar boxes that go onto the poles do a lot of data collection and actually give you a better vision of what's going on. So at some point, I'd like to see the township look at that. At least the chief put that in the budget or something.
Yeah, this is correlating all from our discussions a couple months ago with, going to the county and widening the bridge. And if they succeeded and said yes in widening the bridge, would it not offset the need for a signal at all?
This was the first step we wanted to take.
Okay.
We wanted to look and see if the signals would help alleviate, at least do a trial run of the signals and see how it works before we try to go with it. So the bridges.
That would take decades.
One year here on the gates.
It's historic. It's a historic bridge. So widening the bridge is a major.
Yeah, and it's astronomically more expensive to do a bridge than it would be to do. And what was the price on the bridge up in Osborne?
What?
And I just wanted to jump on another thing on this. I love that it's a historic bridge. I don't want to mess with the bridge. And you know what else that bridge is? It's a big speed bump, and I love it.
Yes.
Because since that speed limit was raised on Lloyd Avenue, look, you got people going to a dog park, you got kids going to a playground. The people are doing 35. New York City lowered the speed limit in the entire city to 25. You know why? Because the difference between 25 and 35 is a 70% reduction in fatality. their chances of surviving being hit at 25 are much better than at 35. I would like to see that speed a little lower again. I'm gonna shut up. Yeah, it's a great speed bump, and we should not be messing with that bridge.
Well, let me add one anecdotal story. This happened this afternoon about 3:15. I walked out to get the mail and stuff like that. While I was standing there, a little bit of traffic had backed up. There was about a dozen cars on the north side of the bridge. And there were 5 or 6 on the south side of the bridge. But someone got so aggravated sitting there because they were sitting there for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, not like rush hour when it's 7 or 8 minutes. And so I'm standing there getting the mail out of the box and I hear an engine roar. And as I turn around, someone came off the bridge, got just up past your place, right to the entrance of the park, and the car in front of them wasn't moving fast enough. And they passed them, burning rubber, straight up the highway on Lloyd Avenue, right through that school, which is picking up, 50 kids in and out of that schoolyard? And you got roaring through there, passing somebody on that road. It's not just the total number of cars. It is how they're interacting there that has a major impact. The type of study they typically do doesn't go after the number of backups. That's just not a normal statistic they would care for because it tends to average out, as you said, at rush hour and another time. But in this particular case, it's actually become dangerous. People are cutting each other off. They're passing each other on that road on either side. I've seen it happen on the south side as well.
Road rage.
Yeah, little road rage thrown in there. And there's kids up and down there. There's kids on bicycles. There's runners. There's joggers. Fishermen. And we have been very lucky we haven't had a serious death on that road in the last 10 years or so. The last bad accident we had, they flew that kid down to downtown in a helicopter, and he survived, but only because they had a helicopter. How can you have an accident that bad on Lloyd Avenue? So episodic events matter here, and I don't think we want to ignore them. Do you want to be one of your kids that gets run over? I don't want one of my grandchildren getting run over out there. But it's going to happen sooner or later. Thank you for listening.
Yes, I have for you tonight. We've spoken about it with that. What I have handed you is the cost estimates and the maps of the township roads that the Director of Public Works, Township Manager, and myself have met about and discussed. And Arrow had then went out and surveyed the roads for any improvements or repairs that would have been necessary, and then also to then perform and provide you with a opinion of probable cost of what we feel each segment of road would cost for the paving road for 2019. We had talked about these, I believe, back in late February, in February, or early March. And so we have performed the estimates. The roads in question are the portion of Geo Carlson that was not done in 2018, Kingsway Drive, North 11, a small portion of 11 Avenue for repair, South Bailey, Wayne Avenue, and then Caln. So those total length of roads is about 10,077 linear feet, or 1.9 miles of road we're looking to get done this year. The cost estimate total for the road work, without the estimate for contract administration, bidding, and inspection, $760,609.61. If you add in what we're estimating for bid documents, contract administration, and the construction inspection costs, that the total probable cost of the project is $864,321. I'm here tonight to request a authorization to advertise and declare the bid document. And we can get back to you with a schedule then, the next meeting, we'll have a schedule in place for when the bid document will be placed at the public, when the advertisements will be in the paper, and the pre-bid meeting will be, and then the bid will be open and brought before you for your consideration.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to authorize advertisement of the, road program and prepare the bid. Second? Motion made by Commissioner Darrow, seconded by Commissioner Chambers. Any comments or questions?
Yes, for 20,
We have budgeted roughly 800,000, so we'll be getting another 64,000.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 5-0.
I'm looking for your questions for me.
Any questions, Mr. Sutton? Okay,
Thank you.
Done.
One thing that I want to bring to the board, well, several things I want to bring to your attention. We do have the Easter egg hunt this weekend, as with all of the new people health, which are not doing it, they're getting into Monday and we always do it. We also have the Caln cleanup day for the 27th. Again, we always need help. We're going to start at 8 a.m. that morning. What would be nice is the next day is the color run taken on the way. So it'd be really great if we could get the people to really bring up the long day of Charleston, so that the visitors can be, impressed by how nice everything is the next day. We did do the cleanup day, and then we've been in place, we are going to have public work and admin staff. We're going to do that day, we assist. Again, they're always going to be the volunteers, also runners. The color line numbers are very significantly down from previous years. They only had about 400 applicants, which they said the last time they had it was about 900. So that way helps a lot of, the local nonprofits and several nonprofits here in the community. So,
I'm just saying, you don't have to go out.
They also need volunteers and people, just to splash the color, work the route, help with registration. So that's going to be a very active weekend here in the township. And again, we're just not going to call our business to do that. So in addition to that, we have new secretary has been doing an amazing job in all of our past documents, scanned in and filed electronically in our software. She went up and got some items from the farmhouse that I think they're from what, 1957. They are so moldy that they can't even really be pulled apart. So we have one of two options that we have to do. Because those are supposed to be permanent records, we can do one of two things. We can either work with Iron Mountain to try to restore them to the best that they can. And the quote for that was in the packets, and that was roughly, $4,600. Or as a part of one of the resolutions where we are disposing of records, we can note that these records were damaged and moldy and were disposed. So I wanted to bring it to the board's attention, because I kind of thought that was more of a policy decision. Usually I wouldn't bother you with something like this, but when it comes to permanent dispossession of records, we always bring them to the board.
What minute books and this is just for the claim.
Yes, this wouldn't be a scan, this is just to clean them enough that we can cancel them. The thing is, we have to clean them and go there and see that the wording and whatnot will still, it's kind of a catch-22. Yeah, they're in pretty bad shape. So even being clean, you may just get a few days with half the work. It's not that they can restore them back to you.
It's just one box.
It was, I don't know, but there's only about 5 books in it, but,
About 4,600 to meet.
The book that found it, but the things was picking up and picking up.
You'll have to steam to make it dry out, mold and then put those certain stuff in. Yeah, we didn't want it, we wanted to order it off, we didn't want it to store it in nothing.
What kind of breakfast are they? Minutes, and how far back?
57. Where is that year?
I think that is. We left it.
And then if it doesn't work, you can say, well, we tried to restore it in the end of his age, we weren't able to restore it.
$600 to restore something you got.
Meeting minutes?
It's like how vital are the minutes? That's just. And has it been in past history that can last forever and that's required?
Yeah.
Unless they've been restored through fire, water, damage, so that the documents. It hasn't gotten to that yet. Oh, they're pretty bad. Again, that's why we made the decision that we, I didn't want anybody to do it or try to,
Just a question, speaking of the documents and everything, my thoughts were, are we scanning any documents?
Yes, we have an electronic, that's how this process is
because
come about.
Yeah,
It's not so.
Yes,
okay.
we
Because we
started,
used that in the past when I was police commissioner, and we saved all those documents before we disposed of them. Okay, I was just curious, because if we're not doing that, then, we
that's
need
how
to
this whole
look at it.
process started, we've been going through digitizing all kinds of documents.
Right.
All right, if I'm correct, the minutes have to be kept in paper form, even though we are, electronically recording.
You start verification.
Last time we talked about it, the state didn't recognize electronic storage.
Last time I talked about, they said, they were making a decision a week ago, and we said they were talking about it.
Okay. But as of today, you have to have paper that, even though it's digitally stored.
But I don't know the decision made.
Okay.
So what was your classification, 57 to 97?
57 to the 90s, but they're not in sequential order. It could be 57, 60 something, 90 something. Yeah, they're not, it's not like from 57 to 90, it's, what you say, 5 4.
And it's all something, it's kind of probably thing.
Okay.
It's definitely possible to be, like 1957, 1958, 1960. Something like that, it's not from 57 to 90.
The requirements are that we just maintain documents, right? What's the problem with just maintaining those documents? Are we sealing them in something, or you put them in,
They're mold covers.
but then, I'm just saying, to save $4,600, our requirement is to save them. It'd be cool if it was cheaper to refurbish them, seal them in Ziploc bags or something of that sort, and we've met the requirement of keeping them, correct? Just throwing it out as an option. $4,600.
I would disagree, because the law does allow, if the documents have been damaged, it does allow for you, but that's what the dispossession of, it just has to be noted that these records are, you know, we're doing one side for this disposition of records, we have to know that.
Not really worried that they got one
It's one.
inside the farm.
Yeah, thank you for that. I can think of a lot more fun ways to spend $4,600, but the law is the law. Historical record is historical record, and we need to do what we can to restore it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I think we have to give it a go.
I mean, we can ask them if they would, each book is in a different shape. I mean, that's a good idea, but each book is.
Why did the worst one see what comes out?
I'm from 1957. I would hate if somebody just threw me out with it. I think that, you know,
Depends how moldy you are.
You know, it's clear we have to maintain these, and I don't think finding a way around the law
Well, it's not
is
around.
a good
I mean,
idea.
this
No,
does
I'm with
happen.
you on
Yeah,
that.
this does happen.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
we need,
documents get damaged, it just has to be documented.
yeah,
You
we
can't
need
just
to
be,
give it a
oops,
go.
they're gone.
I think we need to give it a go.
Would you be able to get clarification from the company as to if we can get a lower quote for buying one,
We could, I mean, I don't know, we'll try.
and then come back to us with that, it's a hold off for now? If that's. Hold off for now. Mr. Dion, we're gonna have.
So thanks for all my questions.
Just an observation that, what is the practice that we have to follow as far as all of our records, dating back 2 centuries? Are they all stored in a safe or something? What are we doing?
Pennsylvania detention records. So there are items that do have to be stored for security, there are other items that financial records you can get rid of it 3, 5, and 7 year intervals. Again, that is why we have started,
Worry about.
we have started digitizing as much as we possibly can. We have outside storage units that we use that are climate controlled. But again, we're trying to get everything much in the cloud.
It's a big challenge. Once they get enough mold on them, the rats go out and taste them real good. Yeah, I had that problem in the hospital one time. Okay, what I was going to suggest is maybe the Historical Society or somebody could help us out with some of that sort of thing as far as manpower, filing, looking at quality, evaluating, classifying, or something like that.
Certainly, that's not the issue. The issue is they're in such bad shape.
Again, just an
Yeah,
observation.
no, it's a great suggestion, but it's, the staff is doing a fantastic job. It's literally, they're just.
But historians love that stuff.
Exactly. I would not even allow those ladies to touch these.
Just a thought.
So we're gonna hold off on that till we get more information. Anything else, Ms. Denne?
No, that's all.
Okay. We have one ordinance for consideration, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2019-15, resolution for the disposition of township records. Do you have a second? Second. Motion made by Commissioner Chambers, second by Commissioner Chandler. Any comments or questions on this one? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 5-0. For the Finance Department, I'll entertain a motion to adopt General Manual Check 42 and 44 and General Check 43030 to 43156 V5. Mr. Chambers abstaining from check number 43061. Yeah, Mr. Vincenzo abstaining from 43072 and Mr. Young abstaining from 43074. Do you have a motion maker? Motion made by Commissioner Young, seconded by Commissioner Chambers, with the abstentions noted. Any comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 5-0, again with the abstentions that I noted. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from January 22nd, 2019, Planning Commission. I'll acknowledge it. The minutes from January 22nd, 2019, Planning Commission.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Tindaro and seconded by Commissioner Chambers. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 5-0. Right, boards and commissions update. Parks and Rec.
As it says in Easter conference this Sunday, we have secured, our summer series. Right now there was a survey on Facebook on what movies to show. We have two that we, have a DJ and then watch a movie after sunset. And then our middle one in July will be Cheapest Live again with, fireworks after the game. It's right down in Caln Park. On Sunday.
Okay, COG, we don't have an update.
I decided.
Nobody can make it this time. All right, municipal authority.
We continue discussions on financing the pump station.
Sarah. Fire board. Historical.
Our group met last month. We had a group of Boy Scouts that came in and observed the meeting. At the time, we discussed what was happening at Lloyd Farm. And after this was done, this is going towards them getting a nerve back.
Lincoln Highway.
Basically, it was a brainstorming session, and then go through their positives, negatives on the highway and Lincoln Street.
Part of the visibility, session, we can work on this and outcomes and measures.
Any items for addition of business? Okay, for public comment, I apologize. I thought this was the citizens to be heard list. I realize it's a Lloyd Farm update email. So if you have a public comment, you can give it now. If not, then we'll just keep your email for the record.
I did.
Spalding?
Cheryl Spalding, 406 Lloyd Avenue. It's gonna be a trip down memory lane. My first question though is the question I always ask, which is, has anybody here heard from our friend Harry Miller, Regal, Walt? No. No. Okay. There are panel trucks up there. Can't begin to tell you what they're doing. They don't look big enough to take the house down, but there's so much shrubbery now you really can't see anything. I'm gonna take you back in time. And in fact, you mentioned it earlier today. In 2007, you bought the Ingleside Golf Course. A few years before that, you started the purchase of the Griffith Farm. But in November of 2007, you finished this, the Kings Highway Park Master Plan, which was finished in 2007. So that's how many years ago? 14, 12. So my question is, and Josh, you were on the committee. No one else was here, I believe. Unfortunately, Camp left, and she was on it. You were on it? Okay, good. You got $3 million in county and state grants for the purchase of Griffith Park property, correct?
I have to deal with Parkville.
Okay, that's how much it was. I went through your file, the entire file yesterday. Have any improvements been done to that property that are listed in this plan? Anything that was in this plan ever been done?
No.
No. Is the house open to the public ever?
No.
Is the property open to the public ever? No. The master plan included a chip golf course. I don't know if do that or not.
It was a disc golf.
Yeah, disc golf course, okay. I'm a little, I mean, after my experience with the Lloyd Farm, I have to tell you, I'm a bit nonplussed to find out that we've invested $3 million in dirt that's sitting there and has been sitting there since 2003, and has a complete master plan from 2007 that has never been put into place.
And again, that
Why?
grant is $4 million.
Well, I understand, but nobody ever went for
So
any more grants.
2007 was a good year of tax laws and real estate supply. 2008, the bottom fell out, and 2007 we collected $750,000 in transfer tax, and next year we collected $130,000.
And so between now and then, there's been no opportunity to do anything constructive.
I don't, unless we're raising taxes.
Okay. I would like to go through the house and the property. Do you have any objection to that?
The house is not very big.
I know, but I'd like to go through the house and
We
the
don't
property.
allow public into the house.
I'm sorry?
We don't allow the public into the house.
Okay, then I'll have to ask how I can do it. Okay. You won't, you're denying me permission to go on the property. Am I correct?
I'm at one member, so other people.
I'm
feel
asking.
differently.
I'm asking for the right to walk through the house and to walk across the property, which my taxes pay $3 million.
The property is not suitable.
It's not suitable for use. I'm asking for permission to go on the property, and you deny me permission. Okay, that's what I need to know. And along those same lines, so now we know where we stand with that. You have a comprehensive plan that you adopted in 2017, so we're only 2 years into that one. And we put in the budget that you were going to do the rezoning, finally. We've gone through the first quarter of this year, we're now in second quarter 2019. Do you have a date when you're going to start the process, which takes 2 years to get the rezoning in place?
I'm waiting for the first round of VPP grants.
I'm sorry, say again?
I'm waiting for grants. The VPP grants are usually available the first quarter, they're not going to be available until May.
And what is a VPP grant?
And the vision partnership grant that the county commissioners and county planning commission gets assigned, comprehensive planning, community planning, streetscape planning, and zoning.
And you've applied for that?
No, it hasn't been released yet. I can't apply for it.
Okay, but you will be applying for the money to do the rezoning to the Chester County Planning Commission in May.
If it's released, then
Okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to maybe not go quite back as far as time as Cheryl did, but we kind of focused on Lloyd Farmhouse and the bridge, which are obviously very important factors. But for the Lloyd Farm development, there was other factors, and it seemed to have gone away from that. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was remembering those things. And as the petition was put in, it was for the 5-story apartment buildings that obviously don't fit in R2 residential development. So we want to make attention that when that comes back around, we don't forget about these 5-story apartment buildings plus the commercial. Also want to talk about the traffic at Manor Road and Boyd Avenue. We know it's a bad intersection, and I know it's a bad intersection because I almost got rear-ended a couple weeks ago because I was making a left on 322 there, and the guy behind me didn't realize that traffic doesn't keep going. A school bus was coming the other way out of Royal Farm. So I had to yield to the school bus, and I was almost smashed into in the back. So that intersection is still badly designed, and that's just one example. I'm sure there have been more. I wish the police would have some record of how many accidents have happened at an intersection since it's been redesigned. I would guess it's quite a few. There's sign ordinances in the township, correct? Okay. The sign on Lloyd Farm has been up for sale for a long time. It has been added with the no trespassing signs. Signage to me in the normal commercial world is by length of your frontage. So between this for sale sign and the trespassing sign, do we have any idea if we're violating the sign ordinance on that property? I'd ask that we review that and have it ready for the next meeting. Because I think that's important. That for sale signs been sitting up forever, and there's you know, I don't know what right he has to put, no trespassing signs on cell phone poles, which are owned by the electric company and not by him either. So, that's not me. My last concern is that the last meeting I was at, I did miss the last one before, I was out of town. And after conversation, after meeting conversation, I had a conversation with Denne and asked her if she had talked to the lawyer. She said she had called the lawyer for Harry Miller, that they would have had her back. And when I asked her about what that conversation was going to be, she said, anything that's covered in that, and I'm sorry that Ms. Camp left, because that's the person who should be the expert here, and I'm not sure why she's not here. But Ms. Denne claimed to me that's attorney-client privilege. Ms. Denne is not the client of Harry Miller's attorney. So in practical legalese, and I'm not an attorney, that is not attorney-client privilege. Anything that he says to her or any other township official is not covered by attorney-client privilege. Attorney to Mr. Miller is covered. Attorney to anybody else is not covered. So I'd like an explanation of that and a ruling on that. And then you can know if there's any conversations with Ms. Denne that we're getting the full feedback.
This is strictly business, are you done?
I asked my question, I'm waiting for the board, and they trust
Well,
you.
no,
So.
I'd rather you finish your 5 minutes and then I'll go.
No, I'm finished mine.
So you're finished.
Depending on what you say, I guess I'm finished.
No, I'd rather you finish your 5 minutes. Because
I've
we
asked
can't
my-
continue this whole evening going back and forth, so
Okay, I've asked my question to the board. I'm waiting for a response.
I consider it business etiquette, and I think those people that are in the business world consider it etiquette. But if you speak to somebody's attorney, that you don't repeat unless their attorney or their client gives you the privilege or gives you the permission to repeat that. I may repeat that, especially when it comes to real estate transactions. I'm not going to repeat to the business. The same as if you called me confidentially about an issue you having with a neighbor, would you expect me to call your neighbor and repeat what you said to me?
That's not attorney-client privilege. That's not what I'm asking about.
I'm saying that that is my business practice. That I'm not going to repeat a conversation that I had with somebody privately.
To the board, what is your recognition of that? That seems ridiculous to me, I'm sorry.
Well, it's not attorney-client privilege.
That's what she used, though. Those were the words that she used.
First off, sir, I said that is very similar to attorney-client.
No, the night we spoke, you
And
told
I
me that.
told you that. I said, I consider a conversation I have with somebody's attorney to be similar to attorney-client privilege. It is business etiquette, and you do not repeat things that people tell you privately.
With the concern we all have in the township about this project, I don't think attorney-client privilege exists in this. We all need to know what Harry Miller is planning to do, when he's planning to do it, so we can have our voices heard.
You will, because we have not heard what Harry Miller is
I understand that, but I want to figure out, I wish Ms. Camp was here, because she could actually quote the law on that. But
You
there,
can quote the law, but you're not going to change my business etiquette, manners, and professionalism. You may not like it.
you still report to the taxpayers of this.
I report to the board, and I'm
Okay.
a taxpayer here also.
That's great, we all are.
So please remember that.
Can I ask you a question? Because you are a lawyer.
Yes.
If Ms. Denne is speaking to Blue Collar Greco, because that's what you have to do. She is speaking to Blue Collar Greco in her position, assuming that's what it's for, in her position as the township manager for Caln. Okay. Does she not have an obligation to tell you, the board, what she's talking to him about?
Yes, we have.
Would you not expect to know?
Yes, and on a regular basis, I have reports that I give to the board and give them updates and they're going on.
So you do disclose your conversation with that lawyer, Blue Collar Greco,
The
to that
attorney
board.
would expect me to discuss it with the board, and often, depending on what the subject is, often the conversation ends with, I will take this back to the board and I just will discuss it.
And do you have conversations with him that do not include?
No, I do not.
Disclosure? Okay,
No.
so you do disclose it to the board.
With the person's permission.
And if he said no?
Then I would say don't have the conversation with me. You know, part of the problem is that you really don't understand the business
My
etiquette.
dear, I've been in the
Oh, I
commercial
understand.
business for 25 years. Oh, I get it. Believe me, I get it.
Well, there is a
Okay.
business etiquette that goes with that.
well, there are places that you can be asked things like that, they're called courts.
That's fine.
Or discoveries, or,
That's fine.
things like that. Okay, I move on, there's no answer there.
Well, the answer is that when you have plans submitted by Harry Miller, you will have your opportunity to review the plans, ask questions of the developer. All of that would be a public process.
Okay.
So we would not rise to that point, as we said, and as soon as we find out, we will find out.
But when I came in and I asked you earlier, had anybody in this township had conversations with Miller and whatever, and everybody says
I
no,
have not.
you have not. Doesn't mean Township Den has not.
I've not spoken to him in probably 3 or 4 weeks. Last time I did an update.
Okay.
Well, that was after the last time I was here, so what happened during that conversation?
You weren't here for last meeting, I did an update.
You said 3 or 4 weeks ago, I missed the one 2 weeks ago.
3 or 4 weeks ago.
We didn't have one. We didn't
There wasn't a meeting to use.
have one. The last meeting was 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
But the point is that we will inform the public, it will be advertised, we will have an opportunity to have a hearing. We know that there's a lot of people that are interested in this, so anybody that finds out will be notified, and we'll have to have it at a different venue. That will all take place unless, for some reason, he does not come back.
And look, it's his option. He could come back 6 months, he could come back a year, he could come back 2 years.
The issue, by the way, completely goes beyond the Lloyd Farm. It's a question of, does Ms. Den understand that she does not have, in any comprehensible way defined by law, client privilege of any kind?
Again, business etiquette,
I'm not talking about business etiquette. Do you understand what was just said?
business etiquette.
That's not
I'm
business
not,
etiquette.
look, I'm not gonna argue back and forth. It is business etiquette. The same example I gave you, if you called me to talk to me about your neighbor, I wouldn't tell your neighbor what you talked to me about. It's called business etiquette.
Well, you are an attorney, can you rule on this, please?
I'm an estate planning attorney, but I will say that attorney-client privilege is between the client and the attorney.
Correct.
But from what Ms. Denne is saying, she was not claiming attorney-client privilege, she was claiming that she was keeping conversations confidential, which is different. So, there's nothing to rule on. If she has an update, she's given an update. So, if there's anything else that she wants to update us on, then she would do so. But she's saying that she's not talked to the developer or his lawyer in 3 or 4 weeks. So, that is what we're working on.
Hey. I just want to look at this developer again, because we're now a couple months beyond we're all up in arms, and it was snowing, and some of us were carrying signs on property, and the Inquirer was writing about it, and the Daily Local News was writing about it, and State Senator Katie Muck was interested in this, and State Senator Katie Booth reached out to Miller, and both of the publications reached out to Mr. Miller, and they all wanted to know what his intentions were with the house. And I know that a question that was being raised was, if you have any intention of doing a study to find out if this house can be saved, why did you rip all the windows and doors off during all the rain and snow? And to the best of my knowledge, Mr. Miller has just had the arrogance to not respond to anybody. Now, we know he owned the property. Doesn't own the township. We own the township. Can the board send him a letter saying, hey, we know you want to do some things here. We know you're going to file your paperwork to do it, but we also know that our residents are very concerned about that house. And we know that you've been asked by a number of people why you ripped the windows and doors out if there's any consideration being given to saving it. And see if he ignores you too. Because this is not, business is business, business is shady sometimes, There's always an element to it that we don't like. This guy's a dirtball. I mean, you know, look him up. Look up how he sued his employees after he made them sick. He is not the kind of guy we want developing here. And see if he has the spine to address this board. Just, come on, give him a whack. You're in charge here. You really are. I know Pennsylvania and New York laws are different. But in New York, I've seen in a city where developers rule, I've seen them stop at their tracks. It just happened a couple of weeks ago. What's the name of the bar? I should know this. It's in the Village. It's at 11th and Hudson. It's where the poet Dylan Thomas drank himself to death, like literally, died at the bar. And someone bought the building and was going to completely change the inside of it. City said, no, you're not. You're going to preserve that. It's historic. Some fights are worth taking on. This is the kind of fight where we can get enough press and enough attention that Mr. Miller will eventually go back to Delaware. We just can't let him have his way. And I know that we need to make money. And I know we make money from developers. But I think we've been a little too okay with them. You know, I really liked when Ms. Camp said that when we were talking about that easement, I only asked for the paving to be done for free. Ask. If you start at 0, you don't have to try to bring him down. Say, hey, look, we're going to give you this. We're going to let you do this. We're going to give you the easement. We want you to pay the whole thing. I hardball with these guys. It's how we can bring Caln up to where Caln can be. And I want a burger. And I want a milkshake. So I'm going to shut up. Thank you.
And I have to go home with him. I can't wait.
You go around and check some questions.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough.
I was thinking about that the whole time I was sitting here, actually.
I just want to real quick. I know you weren't here the last time, but didn't you say that you had made some progress, that he was talking to the Historic Society, and he did have 2 other plans to present, but he hasn't brought them to anybody's attention yet? Right. I'm talking about Howard Miller. Yeah. So we're still waiting on these unveilings. Correct. Okay. All right. There's been no new updates. I also want to thank you for giving USA Gas in here.
Yeah.
And they're running 2 of the 4 pumps out of the ground now or something, and backhoe. So it takes time. That's good.
Any other public comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
You know, one of my favorite movies that I love to compare is My Cousin Denne.
Oh,
And you know something? I love it, Dave.
Now we know why all the pieces split off from Caln and we're now whittled down to this little nut down at the bottom. Maybe it's time to split Caln.